Hey folks, it's going to be another senior moment. I thought I would show this. I had a couple of comments from people that have seen it since I built it. And we had some visitors come by the other day and was talking about it. So Eric and I thought this might make an interesting video. So he'll probably ask some questions and I'll sort of explain what this is about. Now, since we started carving signs with the little palm routers, once we did that, we realized that the palm routers were really good for carving signs. I made up a little base for them because palm routers don't come with handles. So I designed this little base for the palm routers that we use. And then people found out about it and they wanted to know if I'd make them for their palm routers. So we wound up making a few and now we stock them, sell them on our websites. So anyway, we started making the bases. And then as I started getting more requests for them, I had to build a place where we could stock them and not just make them and throw them on a shelf. So I built these little holders, and I built these two sides. I cut out a 3/4 inch MDF, and I cut these on the Onsrud. And most of you know what the Onsrud is. I've shown it before. But for those of you who don't know what the Onsrud is, it's an inverted router. And if you go back and view, I think it's senior moment number 23, you'll see what the inverted router is and how it works. But what I did is I made a pattern. Now this is a cutter I used. This is just a round over cutter. As you can see.
Okay, hold it there. Let me zoom in, Dad.
You got that, son?
Okay, go ahead. Keep talking.
So as you can see, this round over cutter just fits that groove. So what I did is, to make it simple, I made this pattern. And this is just a plywood pattern. And I put these pieces on there evenly spaced, so that when I put this down on a piece of this 3/4 inch MDF, then I just use these screws, screwed it on, and then I cut this with the Onsrud. If you go back and look at the Onsrud video, you'll see how I did that.
So those grooves then, based on the Onsrud, those grooves, the 1/4 inch pin, there's just what those grooves are a 1/4 inch or just.
Yeah, I put these just, there were a couple of thousandths over a 1/4 inch apart.
Right.
So that the pin on the Onsrud, if you go back and check the Onsrud, the pin just fits in there.
Gotcha.
And when I put the pin in there and I move this across, it cuts this groove. And I used this round over bit so that when I made these shelves, I made these shelves just the right size.
So that's 1/8 inch, just 1/8
Yeah,
inch.
well, this is 3/16.
Oh, is it 3/16?
Yeah, this is 3/16, but these are a 1/4 inch. So it just fits in there really nice. So I can put 8 bases in there, then put a shelf in, put 8 more bases, put a shelf in, put 8 more bases. So
yeah.
Theoretically, if this is full, it'll hold 50. That's a lot of bases in a small space. Normally I don't fill it up, but if I had to, I could make 50 bases and store in this one. Now this one is basically the same thing, except that it's for the larger bases. Now this is for the PC890, which is a full-size router. So once in a while we get a customer that wants one of our bases because it gives them a good feel even on on the bigger routers that come with handles. A lot of people like our bases with the handles, so they order these for the bigger routers.
So those of you that have been watching, I'll just interject here.
Yeah,
those of
go
you
ahead.
that have been watching for a while know that when I use my big 618, DeWalt 618, or if you have a 616, Dad had asked me whether it made sense to do the same thing on the bigger router than we did on the smaller router. I didn't think it would, because the big router already had handles on it. But what I found out once Dad made the base plate for the bigger router, what I found out, and this is something that we learned, you know, that I learned as a kid, that Dad taught me years ago, the closer you can have your hands to the surface of the board when you're carving a sign, like on the board, the more control you're going to have. So these bases, not just on the little routers, but on the bigger routers, they allow you to actually have contact with the sign, the board that you're carving, and your base at the same time, and it gives you much, much better control than the standard handles that come on the big routers. Therefore, all of my big routers, I have these bigger plates on all of my bigger routers.
Yeah,
it just gives you more control.
That's why we made the bigger plates, just in case you have a bigger router and you want a base for it.
Yeah.
We make it so. But I didn't need as much space for storage on the bigger ones, so I just made them half size. So they won't even hold. I mean, they'll hold like 6. They'll hold maybe a dozen.
Yeah.
But I don't need to stock more than that. If I stock 6 or 8 of them, then if somebody wants one and I don't have one, I just set up and make it. So it's now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these back over on the shelf where they reside. I've got them over here just so I could go over and explain them. But I'm going to sit. Are you ready, son?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I bought this metal shelf, put it together, spaced everything so that now this is all the bases that we make. Every base that we make is in just within this square right here. And I usually keep 6 or 8 or 10 of them. The more popular ones, like the DeWalt, I keep like, you know, a dozen or so of those. Some of them I keep 5 or 6, so it just all depends. I like to keep about a month's supply.
But you can see, guys, if you look, and I'll zoom in on, like, let's say that DeWalt right there. There may be the same base plate that fits on multiple different routers. That DeWalt, by the way, fits a 611, but it also fits the DCW 600, which I believe is a cordless version.
And then the Porter Cable 450 also.
Cable 450.
The DWP 611 and the PC 450 are basically the same router, just made with a different name on it.
Yeah.
But everything is interchangeable on them. So.
Yeah, and you can see up here the Porter Cable 690 LR, which is a great router, is actually the same hole pattern as that Hitachi M12VC. So the hole pattern is the same, so that base would fit either one of those. So even though there's only maybe a dozen slots here, we have routers or bases that fit, I don't know, 18 or 19 or something like that.
And even going down to like the Drill Master 1/4 inch, it's the same as a professional 1/4 inch.
Yeah.
And now Harbor Freight has a new router, the Bauer, which is different than the other two. So I made a special base designed just to fit the Bauer. So this is it just gives you a little background on the bases and why we make them and how we make them and how we store them, and one of the reasons we started making them.
And something that I wanted to point out, guys, when I first saw Dad had made these, I just assumed he cut all of those grooves on the table saw. like everybody does. I just assumed he used a dado stack or made multiple passes and cut those 1/4 inch grooves. But then I saw it automatic that it had a round over like that. So then I asked him, and he said he cut them on the Onsrud.
Yeah,
so that just gives you an idea that that Onsrud, now that same, using that same kind of system, you could do it if you don't have an Onsrud, which most people don't, but you could do that on a router table as well.
Absolutely.
If you have
Even using the same bit, if you had a router table and a fence, you could set up and do those just as easy on a router table. I just, I use the Onsrud on a lot of stuff that I do simply because I've got it.
Yep.
So.
Okay.
All right.
I think that pretty much explains it.
All right, people, that's a senior moment for this time. And my voice is settling down a little bit, but
Now that we're almost done.
now that I'm almost done.
Okay.
So we'll see you next time.